Hello, hello, hello. Tamia here with Tamia Talks Books. And I'm so excited to be here with my good friend, Annie Francesca. Hi, Annie.
Hi, Tamia. So nice to see you.
I'm so excited that you are here. So Annie and I actually met last year in November in London as we both shared the stage at the Women Economics Forum in London. So I am so excited to be in touch with you. You were actually talking on an amazing topic. So actually, Annie is a reinvention stylist. I find that so fascinating. Can you share with us what a reinvention stylist is?
Yes, I'd love to. Um, a reinvention stylist is a I'm my own brand of stylist actually. So I invented this term, and really what I help women do is I help them when they've lost their sense of identity to step into someone bigger. And essentially, it's I'm taking them on a journey from the unknown into helping them find their mission and helping them find their superhero cape that goes along with their mission. So clothing actually is very transformational, and you can, literally with just putting something different on, step into a totally different identity. So in a nutshell, that's kind of what I do.
I totally agree with that. I come from law enforcement, and in law enforcement, of course, when we put on our uniform, you become that officer.
Yeah.
Very much, set on that. I'm in control. I'm an officer now. And then when you take that uniform off and you get to put on, your gym clothes or your dress clothes or whatever, you become who that person is that's inside that clothing. So that is
Yeah.
a unique way to think about it.
Thank you.
And then people like now during this time of the coronavirus situation where a lot of people are shut in, I know quite a few people are making a choices not to dress up or do anything major. They're just staying comfortable in their comfortable clothes. So let's talk about that and talk about how that actually affects people's mindsets during
Hmm.
this shut situation.
Yeah, and that's a really good point that you brought up because it's very true. Most people are staying in their pajamas right now, right? And if you look at clothing sales of loungewear have just skyrocketed. And you can even find a photograph of, I don't know if you know who the editor-in-chief of Vogue magazine is, but Anna Wintour.
Oh yes. Mm-hmm.
There's a recent photo of her and she's wearing loungewear, right? Which is unheard of. But this is the big trend now is everyone is, defaulting to wearing pajamas or loungewear while we're self-isolating. And I totally get it because, we all want to be comfy. We all want to feel some kind of nourishment or nurturing sort of feelings. But at the same time, we can create habits right now that are very detrimental to moving forward in a positive way. And
Yes.
so wearing pajamas is actually one of them.
That is so key. I get that. Would you share with the audience some tips, because I definitely want to talk to you about this, some tips on what your day looks like and what you would suggest for someone to have a successful day while in quarantine? I know you started your day off when we were chatting earlier, preparing for our interview. You were telling me you're on your way to meditate. So just share with us some of the things that you do to get yourself ready for your day and to be productive even in quarantine.
Well, I mean, it even starts before I put something on. So I get up early and I make sure that I have time to meditate, time for prayer and meditation. And with that, it's also visualizing my mission, right? Really getting in touch with my mission, who I'm inspiring, what I'm here for, and really visualizing that process. And when I have something like this, an interview, or I'm creating videos for a course, a program. So I'm not always showing up like this, right? I do have some jammy days as well. I'll admit it.
So do I. I do.
So there's no judgment there with wearing jammies, right? But when I want to step into my mission and show up intentional 100% as this person that I see myself embodying, that's when I'll put on the superhero cape that helps me to identify with that mission. And when you think about it, so many hero stories, actually not so many, every hero story has this identifying marker of transformation, right? When you think of Frodo, or I need to, not Frodo, it was Bilbo Baggins, right? The Hobbit.
The Hobbit, yes, yes.
The Hobbit, he puts on the ring,
yes.
And that helps him to transform his identity. He's no longer the Hobbit in that ordinary world. He's now he's now transformed into the superhero with a mission, right?
I remember that story. Yes, yes. So I think that's really important what you're saying. It's because it really is. I love that you said visualization. You know, how do you see yourself? Because we are coming out of this. We are going through this season, staying in the season. So we all do have to prepare for what is next when we get out of quarantine, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And wouldn't you say that right now it's like we're in a dark forest, right?
That would be a thought. That would definitely be a thought. And for me, you know, you and I both are women of faith. So, you know, that we both seek out, I like the way you said, you meditate and you pray, you know, to find out what it is that the Lord has for you. What is the mission that the Lord has for you in the season? And part of our mission, both, I agree, is that you and I both are to shine the light in that forest. You know, we are to shine the light and guide people out of the darkness and through the darkness, and to be successful on the other side when we step into the light.
Yeah. Amen to that.
Yeah. Totally agree. So you're in a beautiful place right now. You actually are in, you said, Kelowna.
Yes.
Yeah. And you showed me the beautiful view outside your room. Now that definitely would get me motivated every day.
Do you want me to move the computer?
No, our audience will just have to imagine.
Okay. Well, it's the lake. Like I'm living on a lake on the 14th floor in this beautiful condo. And if you can picture it, the lake is just like, it's like glass with the sun streaming down on it. And it's magical. It really is.
I was very inspired when I saw it myself. The thing and what I actually do a lot is I get on my computer and because I videotape everything everywhere I go. And so the last time I went to the beach, I always go to the beach and go to the waterfront and actually just film the waves. You know, the sound of the waves and just the waves, you know. So I revisit that quite often. I go to the beach. I'm quarantined in my house, but I will go to the beach through my...
Oh, in your imagination, you'll go to the beach. Okay, because you're in Las Vegas, and I'm thinking, where's the beach in Las Vegas?
Now I have all my footage from my trips to San Diego and various other places.
Yeah.
In fact, is where you at one point lived. We have to talk about this. My friend Annie is this amazing, not only is she an amazing author, and we're going to talk about her book shortly, but she is a nomadic person. She literally lives her life in travel. She lives like all over the world at any given time. So talk to me about that, because I know you said that last year you actually at some point were in San Diego. So what places you were last year before we met up in London?
Okay. Okay, it was actually last year at this time that my daughter and I went to San Diego, and our intention was to stay there for probably until probably fall, I think. We ended up cutting the trip short. We had some adventures that challenged us. You know, the trip was amazing. First mother and daughter trip.
Nice.
In a very, very long time. Some of the adventures were cockroaches in our condo. Yes. But that's another story. So we ended up, like I said, cutting short our trip. And then I went to Oaxaca, Mexico, a place that was never even on my radar before, but I just needed a break, I think, from the cockroaches.
So did you go by car or were you on a cruise? How did you get from San Diego to Oaxaca?
Oh, I flew. I
Oh,
flew.
okay.
Yeah. And so I ended up there for about a month and a half and just had like this beautiful experience because I really needed like a place where I could be quiet, pray, meditate, and just feel really peaceful, and also to have an adventure, exploring cultural experiences. And Oaxaca was really perfect for that because it's one of the richest, um, what is it,
Cities. Yeah.
cities
Where's
in
the province?
Mexico,
Yeah.
where there's so much rich cultural diversity there. So it was beautiful. And then from there, I went to San Felipe, Mexico, in the Baja area. And then from there, went to Dallas, Texas, then back to Kelowna, and then to the Women's Economic Forum in London. That's where we met.
Yes.
Yes. And then from there, after the Women's Economic Forum, traveled to places in the UK and then also further to Ireland. Came back December 3rd. So
Wow.
yeah,
Well, is this home where you are right now? You consider Kelowna home?
it's home for a while. Home for a while. uh, okay, I have this dream of moving to Ireland.
Oh, cool.
So, you know, as for everyone in this situation, it's all in divine right timing, right?
Right. So do you have a place in Ireland in particular that you want to go? Is there family there? I mean, what draws you to Ireland?
Well, I set it myself up for moving there, when I was there in November. So I have good friends, lots of support there. Really what moves me there is just this calling. Excuse me. I feel called to go there.
Wow.
And as with every calling, you don't really understand it, but you just follow that inclination in your heart, and put one step in front of the other. And so I'm not sure how this is going to pan out. Sometimes when you have a calling, God or life, intervenes and surprises you with, well, I didn't expect that, you know, and I didn't expect that type of a moment where, you think you're going in one direction and you end up in another place. So I'm still open to all of that, really.
Wow, that's powerful. And what's even more powerful is I want to talk about your inspiration and how you follow your call to travel. And you actually wrote a book about it, right? So
Yeah.
what was the trigger that set off the first book? Can you show us your book and then tell us about it?
Yes. Okay, this book, let's see if I can show this to you properly. It's called Passport to Life: How I Overcame Incurable Cancer Through the Power of Travel. So I wrote this book there, and my name was different, Annie Poole. So I have since reinvented myself to be Annie Francesca, the reinvented stylist. So I wrote this book a few years after I was diagnosed with an incurable cancer diagnosis. And it's interesting because the times that we're living in right now, I see so many parallels to that cancer diagnosis. Because first of all, getting a cancer diagnosis is like this moment where you wake up one day and you're moving in one direction. You think life is going to carry on as normal, but this event takes place that totally shakes you up, and your life is never going to be the same anymore.
Right.
So that's very similar to what we're going through right now with COVID. And so from that moment on, you have this choice. You have this choice because in those moments when something like this happens and instinctively that your life's not going to be the same anymore, you have a choice to say yes to it or a choice to resist it. When you say yes to it and find some place within you where you can say, I embrace this, I accept this, I say yes to it, something opens up inside of you. And it opens up this bigger space inside you. I mean, even if you tried it right now and just thought about, COVID, And it sounds wrong. It sounds wrong to our minds. But when we just, find a phrase that works, close our eyes and think, I say yes, or I embrace this, or I accept this, then, what you're essentially doing is you're answering the call from the divine, right? God or life or however you want to, whatever term is something that resonates with you. But God is leading you on a new path and inviting you to a bigger experience. And in that, you're going to meet with the divine, and you're going to become someone so much bigger than you ever thought you would be. Because essentially, God is calling us, each and every one of us, all around the world, which is really interesting. In this COVID experience, it's like the phone is ringing and, God's on the other line and saying, are you going to answer this?
I absolutely love that analogy. You are just touching so tight on it, that they're ignoring the phone call. There's so many people right now that have rejected it or whatever. You know how the call comes in and you can decline.
Yeah.
And they declined it because, like you said, in their mind, they're like, I'm just going to ignore it. I'm just going to ignore it. It's not like happening. It's not happening. But you're right. God is calling us all to another level. And he's calling us in that level to connect with him, to reconnect with him so he can let us know what the next step is.
Yeah. Yeah. So that we can find our mission.
Right.
In this opportunity that we have. It's a great opportunity to find a bigger sense of purpose.
Yes.
And right now, the world needs so much healing.
Yes, it does.
It needs so many people to rise up and be that agent of healing, right?
Yes, and I was excited to hear you say that you are working on some videos, some trainings that you're going to put out, and I'm doing the same. And I feel like the Lord is calling us that have that, who have that word of hope, have that word to help people go through their change and to come out on top. Us, the light holders, so I was just, for us to share the wisdom that he has imparted into us with them so that they can come out on the other side successfully.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. So once you know your mission and your sense of purpose, and that's essentially, it's in a way, a large part up to us. I mean, it's still up to God or the divine to help us with that, but it's for us to map it out. And once we map it out, and this is something that I did when I was lying on that hospital bed and got the big news, that I wasn't going to make it. I'd just gone through surgery to remove a cancerous tumor from my abdomen. And I was just coming to in the recovery room. And, I was still under anesthetic, but I could see my oncologist was in my room and she was at my bedside. And my heart kind of leapt with joy. I was thinking, she's here so soon.
Well, we made it through, right? If she's there, we made it through.
Yeah, we made it through. She's got good news for me.
Yes.
On, And so she started to speak and she said, she started with the good news. I successfully removed the cancerous tumor from your abdomen. And then she said, but your cancer has spread to the lymph and the upper aorta. And then she said, she just delivered this with such sternness, such intensity in her eyes. She said, and it's incurable. And I looked at her in that moment and I didn't think she would dare to say it again, but I made her say it again. I said, can you repeat that? And she said, yes, it's incurable. And then with that, she walked out of the room and I was all by myself, just left with this big boom, this big shock of, okay, well, I didn't expect that.
Well, what year is that?
That was the fall of 2013.
And here we are in 2020, and I'm looking at your beautiful face, and you look amazing. So obviously something else happened in between now and then. Tell us about.
Something else happened. So the next thing I did, now I'm not a saint. There were some really big swear words that went through my mind, and they were mostly directed at her. But you know, anger is the thing that begins to bring passion into your life, right? When you're in touch with anger, that's when you get in touch with your passion. So, you know, I let out a string of really bad words in my mind towards her. And then the next thing I did was I asked for a nurse. And when she came to my bedside, I said, "Can you bring me a pen and a piece of paper?" I'm sure she must have thought, "What the heck? You know, you just got out of surgery. What do you need to write?
Right.
You know, what are you going to write right now?" So once I got that pen and that piece of paper, I started to write down my mission. Like what I see now was my mission. All the things I was going to achieve, the places I was going to go to, I was going to speak, I was going to write a book, I was going to travel. And then the bottom line was cancer was not going to be part of my reality. I was going to be vibrantly healthy, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I referred a lot to Joseph Campbell. I don't know if you're familiar with him.
I am not.
Okay, so he talks about the hero's journey, and he talks about how one story or every story is like a universal story. You can map out the how do I say this? You can map out the path of the hero's journey. So the hero's journey begins with a call to adventure. And the unlikely hero that is stuck in an ordinary world. Mm-hmm. And once the hero answers the call, he's propelled into a new world. And he goes through the dark forest. He has no idea how to get there, but he meets a mentor. And he goes through tests and trials, and eventually comes to this ultimate test where he has to face his deepest fears. And then it's almost like the hero goes through a resurrection, like a death and a resurrection, dying to self and being reborn to a new self. And I just thought that was a beautiful metaphor. And I took comfort in the fact that if I could map out the steps of this hero's journey, I knew exactly where I was in the hero's journey and could visualize the outcome.
Yes.
Right?
It sounds like visualization plays a big part in your life and what you do.
Yeah. Yeah, it really does. So with that, I knew I also needed a superhero cape, something like Dorothy's sparkly red shoes that, you know, every time she clicked her heels, she would be transported from the dull, you know, scenescapes of Kansas and transported to the land of her dreams.
Right.
So I eventually found my superhero cape, and this is then a concept that I teach to other women, that, you know, to really make a big change in your life very, very quickly, it takes getting in touch with your mission, and then also finding that thing that you put on. It's like your costume, and it activates something inside you. It really helps you to connect to your mission, and changes your identity in an instant. Right?
I love that. Yes.
Which, you know, pajamas is not a superhero identity. It's just not.
Yet if you bring your girlfriends together and you put together a Zoom meeting and say, bring your favorite beverage and put on your pajamas, that could be empowering.
That could be empowering for sure. For sure.
So there's a time, like we said earlier, for jammies.
Yes.
As long as we use them for good.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Let's talk about how people can get a hold of your book. Now, in your book, you tell the story of your journey from which places did you travel to in that.
Okay, in the book, I didn't actually travel. Okay, so it's how I overcame incurable cancer through the power of travel, right? In the book, now, I always kind of wrestle with this because sometimes people don't understand. So I'll just leave that room open for people to, actually, no, sorry, and life is calling. It's the phone. It's my son's birthday, so.
Tell him happy birthday.
I will.
Today, so you can show it to him. He can see it. Happy birthday.
Yes, I'll answer that call to adventure in a second here. Just a second. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay. Actually, cancel not understanding. Let me see if I can find a way to explain it clearly. Like you said, visualization really plays a powerful role in my life. And there's one thing that's really amazing about your imagination is that even when you're in self-isolation, even when all borders are closed and all flights are down and you can't go anywhere, what you can do is just like you visualizing yourself dipping your toes in the ocean, you can take time every day to visualize yourself still in those places that made your soul sing.
Yes.
So that's what I did is I really immersed myself. Actually, let me back up. I thought about the things that made me the happiest. And this is really important to do right now when it might be hard to think of, hard to move past negativity because there's so much of it coming at us. It's almost inescapable at times.
Unfortunately.
Depending on where you go. So it's so important to really pinpoint, where was I the happiest in my life? How can I bring more of that feeling into my life and really immerse myself in those feelings as much as possible? So that's what I did with my former trips to Italy and Ireland. That for me, I went on a very big trip back in 2011. And those were the happiest moments of my life, when I just felt so free and so on top of the world. So when I say using the power of travel, it's essentially stepping into memories of places that I love to be in at a time in my life where I wasn't allowed to go anywhere. I had to self-isolate because of cancer.
Right. I did remember you saying that there was a parallel to what you were talking about in your book, where you are right now. So I do get that. It is a blessing that since then you actually have been able to travel to those places.
100%, yes. And I never thought I would be able to go so many places, actually. At the time, I was near bankruptcy as well. So,
well, what a blessing. You have such an inspirational story. And I want to ask you, if you had one last thing to leave with our viewers, what would you say to them to encourage them now during this self-isolation?
That's a really good question. One thing that I hear so much, and it's true, there's an element of truth to it, and you probably hear this too, is stay positive, right? Mm-hmm. Stay positive. That's the number one thing that you'll hear if you are diagnosed with cancer. People will say, just stay positive. And there's a distinction that needs to be made here. The distinction is, because your mind, when it thinks, oh, just stay positive, it's going through things that you could be positive about. And at the time I had a place to live, but I was near bankruptcy. I could lose my place, right? So the mind is thinking, it's first thinking on things that are positive and then going downhill. I'm happy that my kids are alive, but they're not doing well. You know what I mean? So it was really hard to find something positive to think about, which we may be challenged in these times as well. Yes, I have a home, but I don't know where that's going to go. You know what I mean?
Right.
So the distinction is, in staying positive, is when you connect faith and being positive to your vision, to your mission, to your sense of purpose, that activates faith like nothing else.
Yes.
That activates this confidence and this positivity. You just feel so rock solid in that vision. And the more that you can connect to that, the more positive and the more faith you'll have.
That's right, because God is attracted to the faithful, and faith attracted to the faithful. So
Yeah.
show that we are faithful, show ourselves faithful, God will really bless us. So I hate to cut you off, but we're getting to the end of our interview. And what I would love to get you to do is to tell people how they can get a hold of you and how they can get your book.
Okay, my website is under construction.
Okay.
It's getting a new message. So you could go to my website, www.thereinventionstylist.com. Just know that it will reflect a new message. And then in terms of my book, don't get the hard copy because I have to stock it. And being a nomad, I can't travel with a bunch of books. So it's available in audiobook. And depending on the subscription, you could get it for free. And then you could also get it on Kindle. So Passport.
Well, excellent. Thank you so much. So everyone, that is my amazing friend, the reinvention stylist, Annie Francesca. I thank you so much for being here today, and I will see you again soon. God bless you all. Thank you for watching Tamia Talks Books.